Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode 131 of the Retro Gamers Podcast. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
What's going on, Ant? How are ya?
Everything's going great.
Peachy as could be, right?
Yeah, it couldn't be better. So, just California's getting sunny again. It was like 80 degrees yesterday in March. So, business as usual.
Yikes. Yeah, it's starting to get in the 50s here, which to me is still a little warm for March in New York, but I'll deal accordingly.
What are you talking about? Spring is right around the corner.
Literally, it quite is. I think it's in like another week or so or something like that.
Less than that.
Yeah. Oh, and at least from when we're recording, it's not that far off. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Yes. And what are you doing for St. Patrick's? Or let's see, what did you do for St. Patrick's Day?
Clearly, I'm recording a podcast. Really didn't.
Apparently.
Didn't do. I'm not really big on green beer. I'm big on beer, but not green beer. So this year I kind of laid low. Just kind of relaxed. Just got a long week ahead of me, so I figure let me just kind of chill out this week.
All right, that's cool.
How about yourself? Any Irish parties?
No Irish parties. Hockey game.
Oh, okay. Watching or playing?
Playing.
Very good. Very good. Did they dye the ice green?
I'll find out.
I think
Since I haven't officially played it yet.
Oh, okay. Oh boy. So
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to dye my cat green. Yay.
That would be awesome. Not him. Dye the other one. It would make more sense.
You wanted to jump up here? This is what happens.
Get me away. There you go. Listen for the thud.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, very cute. So, so not so much here on the Western Front Eastern Front, I guess. But I actually, I went out and, we haven't done this in a little while, seeing how, financially speaking, after what happened last year with last year's contest that
yes.
Josh forced us into. And
no, we went in willingly, and I won decidedly.
Yes, you did. So. And after the start of this year's contest, which I think I'm just going to pretty much hand to Anthony because he's got the XI, and I just really am not, as of right now, available to really do a lot of spending like I did last year.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to have won the contest. If you want to concede now, you can find me in my present.
I'll wait till New Year's Eve.
Sure.
So, a little backstory to what I'm about to talk about here. So, a couple weeks ago, we had, of course, Dr. Anthony Bean on the podcast, and we gave away the 2 books.
Yes.
That's right, to our 2 winners.
Yes, congratulations, Charlie and Marina, for winning your Psychology of Zelda books.
It's good reads. You're going to enjoy it. But as we talked about on that episode with Dr. Bean, we mentioned how amongst all the other Zelda games, Majora's Mask is very much is the 5 stages of grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And also we talked about how, and you mentioned it, Ant, how polarizing Majora's Mask, you either love it or you hate it. It's like a Neil Diamond fan. You're either a Neil Diamond fan or you're not. And
yeah,
that's how
exactly. It's like the Virtual Boy, except everybody hates it.
Wow. Dang it, that was early. So what we have happening is, when I read and when we talked about it a little bit more, how you can see Majora's Mask in this other aspect, in this other light. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? I think I kind of want to go back and play it because I hated it. So long gone is my N64, and I'm really not in the mood to re-buy Majora's Mask on the 3DS because I have from this, and Ann, I think you remember this thing. These were one of 2 pre-orders.
Yes.
That Nintendo, probably one of the 2 best pre-orders Nintendo ever put out.
I agree with that because this was just this was a nice surprise this was a nice surprise for a system that was just coming out to play a couple of actual classic games. So it was actually really nice. And I'm assuming, Larry, you were pulling the other disc that was available? Because I have both of these. I have both of these also.
Yeah. So the first one that I'm showing here, and I'm sure Ant just mentioned it again, it's the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition promotional disc. I can't remember which game it was for. Wind Waker.
It came with the NES Legend of Zelda.
No. What I'm saying is, you got it when you pre-ordered Wind Waker.
Wind Waker, yes.
And explain what's on there.
And it came with the original Legend of Zelda on NES, Zelda 2, also on the NES, and then it came with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask for the N64.
And again, this was basically free, which was awesome. Back before, before there was a virtual console, and really when retro started happening, in my opinion. So,
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I have this disc. Majora's Mask is on here, and it's slightly, well, it's not really a graphical upgrade, but it's on here. To mention real quick the other, and I think the better of the two, in my opinion, pre-orders was this one.
Yes, this was also great.
Which is on the GameCube, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Master Quest, which was never released before, the Master Quest. Mm-hmm. And what's cool about this one is, if you're an Ocarina of Time fan, this one is a bit updated as far as graphics. Like they shined it up a little bit for the GameCube.
Yes,
I can't remember.
And it was just great being able to play them on another system, even though the GameCube came out not too long after. Like it was just maybe 3 years, I think, after Majora's Mask.
1901. Yeah.
Yeah, but just the idea of being able to get those games essentially for, like you said, for nothing.
Actually,
you just had to pre-order other games in order to get them, so it was great.
The 2 game one came out in 2003, but still.
Okay.
So cool. Anyway, so yeah, collector's edition. So I'm like, let me play Majora's Mask. So I have it on GameCube, and I hook up my GameCube. And what's funny part about this, which does slightly annoy me, which I understand, when you put the game in for Majora's Mask, the GameCube actually says ahead of time, due to the conversion from the N64 to the GameCube, some of the sound is lost. Like, I guess as far as sound effects, like it doesn't go mute, but some of the sound effects don't carry over correctly because of the translation. Because of the, which kind of makes me want to go and buy it on the 3DS because it's going to be accurate 100%.
Complete.
But I'm like, I'll stick with it. Since I never played it originally, how am I going to know the difference?
That's very true.
So I have the GameCube version. So I'm like, you know what? I still have my GameCube. Let me hook it up to my 4K television. And I say 4K for a reason, because it's a cool TV. So I go to hook it up. I got the wires. Everything. The system works. And, of course, the system did not have, or at least it was very expensive, I think, to get component or to get digital out on the GameCube. Of course, it had AV. So I plug it in to the back of the TV. Now, with these newer televisions, there's really no... Like, remember back in, not even, a few years ago, on a new TV, maybe yours even has it, there's probably multiple component hookups and, a couple of HDMI hookups?
Yeah, there used to be. There used to be 2 or 3 component hookups.
Out of curiosity, does your TV even have the old school AV, composite hookup?
No, it's a combined component AV hookup.
Right. Which is fine. A lot of them have that. And that's what, I have only one component hookup and then 4 HDMIs. So when you have component, for those who don't know, you can plug in an old AV. You plug in the yellow of the AV into the green of the component. That's just how it works.
Correct.
And it always works. So when I plugged in the GameCube, it booted up, it worked, but there was what we like to call, what you like to call in the business, Anthony, noise, which is not literal noise audio, but it's more of a visual noise. Mm-hmm. And it's like kind of graininess on the TV. And, it made me think, I'm like, wow, maybe at this point, new televisions are so, and it's possible, so advanced that they can't carry the old stuff. Who knows what it looks like if I hook it up coaxially?
Coaxially?
I think so. I don't even know. Yeah. So, if I tried hooking up an old system like a Nintendo or a Genesis or something.
Well, I actually have my old systems hooked up to...
but how old is your TV?
My TV's not that old. It's 3 years old. Now, granted, it's not 4K.
No, but still.
But
3 years old? Okay.
But I have it hooked up through AV. Mm-hmm. And they look fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have an issue. Now, it could be with 4K, that's changed.
Well, don't get me wrong, you're not getting 4K from a composite, absolutely not.
No,
and it could be maybe the wire. Maybe the wire is just old. But what happened was I go, you know what? This is just not working for me completely. Clearly, Anthony's television is perfect. So with my...
As most things are in my life.
Yeah, with my expensive television, just wasn't working properly. So I'm like, well, the Wii plays GameCube games. The Wii you can hook up componently. And when you do that, you can actually play GameCube games in what's called progressive scan, which was like the precursor to 1080p. So, I lost my Wii years ago. I mean, literally gone from existence. It gone. So
wait. No. This didn't get lost in the flood?
No, this was
post-flood. It just got lost.
It gone. I don't know where this system was. It didn't happen between moves when I moved from Brooklyn out here to Long Island.
Oh, wow.
Because I had it out here in Long Island.
That's very weird.
Who else has completely lost a video game system?
I don't know. Maybe Link has.
I get losing a game.
Link, have you lost the system?
Do you have my system, Link? Poor tortured soul. It's an old soul.
He is an old soul, and that's now sitting on my lap.
So I'm like, you know what? And I've been missing the Wii for a while, so I'm like, you know what? I'll just go out and buy one. And I went to my good friends at Game On, and I mean, good Lord, they hooked me up. I was expecting to buy just a used Wii, and I bought a used Wii, but good Lord Almighty.
Oh, they gave it to you in box and everything?
They gave me the whole thing. Well, they didn't give it to me. I paid for it, but yeah. Everything, including the old Wiimote, when it didn't have... Remember you had to put that dongle on the bottom when they, upgraded it?
Oh, yes.
But I already have other Wiimotes, so... I mean, I can't wait to hook this up. So
you can play Majora's Mask and N64 game on a GameCube disc.
Well, to play GameCube games, but yes. Absolutely.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying.
Here's the other thing. Again, it comes with AV cable. I'm not messing with an AV cable again. I can get a component cable. I probably have a component cable in the house for the Wii, but nope, I'm not going to do that. By God, I have a 4K television, for crying out loud. I'm going to use it the way God intended it to be used. So I bought, and actually coming today when we record, an actual HDMI wire for the Wii.
Nice.
And Hyperkin, good friends over at Hyperkin, put this out. And it's not an adapter that converts, you know what I mean, the AV to HDMI. This is a full wire, and you can buy it on Amazon. I am granted, it maxes out at 480i, or 480p, I should say, I think. Which the Wii still did. Even on component, it still didn't max out a lot. But I'm looking forward to it. I want to see how this thing works. Because I've seen little adapters for HDMI. But I'll let you know if it's going to be a hit or miss.
Well, you should live stream it.
I'll try to, but I probably won't.
I know.
So I got that hooked up, and then it made me start thinking, because Hyperkin also puts out an HDMI wire for the PS2 and the PS1, and an HDMI wire for the original Xbox. And it kind of makes me think, at what point, these old systems... should they be upgraded to HDMI? If you have the capability of doing it. For a few $100s, I can mod the GameCube to play HDMI. But, of course, I don't want to. But is that the case, or should these systems be kept the way they are to be played in, their native, crappy wiring system?
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, if you're a purist, you want to keep them in their original state. And if that's the case, then you're talking about... Possibly, and I'm not even talking about AV. I'm going way back. Let's go back to the old ones. Let's go back to Atari, Nintendo, and all that stuff. That also means then investing in a good old-fashioned tube television to have in your house in order to play those games, because some of those just don't hook up to newer televisions. If you're not a purist and you're okay with the transition, I mean, I say go for it. I think it works either way. I'm perfectly fine hooking up through through HDMI. So if I can do it, I'll get away with it. The rest of them, are fine on AV. Because my original Nintendo system, you know how it used to hook up through the coax,
yep,
right?
RF.
You would screw it into the back of the TV on the antenna side to play your games. But, little did I know as a kid, because I didn't know these things, but now as an adult, when I'm hooking these things up to TV, that the NES had AV.
It did, yeah. Mine it had AV.
It was on the right side on the back. There were the AV slots, which I honestly did not know. I had no idea those existed.
Really?
Yeah. So when I found it, it was like holy cow! I go, this is amazing. So now I can hook it up to AV. Exactly. It was one of those things. So the fact that system was built for that is great. I was like, would I love to see that in an HDMI? Yeah, I think it would be fine. I don't think it's necessarily going to affect it in any way. I mean, it may make it look a little bit better, but you're still going to maintain the retro quality to the games.
True. Now, of course, also by having all these systems go HDMI, I'm going to have to keep purchasing these HDMI switches, which now I'm up to 3 of them.
Why do you have 3?
Because I would have 9 systems I would hook up through HDMI, and these are 3 each. But these I like them. They're from Armor 3. They actually work, except for the PS4. Because when I had that hooked up, it kept blinking, like the screen kept going in and out. But that's because I learned. If anyone ever has an issue with this, these, and not just Armor 3, but there's a lot of them that look. It's probably just the same one. They just keep changing the owner. If you have problems, especially with the PS3, it's because not enough power is running to it. So you have the DC5 volt. DC5 volt. So I also ordered this is pretty cool. It's a DC5 volt USB wire. So the other end is a USB, which I either hook up to the television or I probably just hook it up to the power strip to get more power out of it. And that should solve the problem on the PS4 because it keeps wanting to switch to the PS4. Right now, the Switch, the Wii U, and the retro, the minis, they work perfectly. So we're gonna see we're gonna see what happens with the rest of it. Now, on an alternate, which is a little more expensive, well, actually a lot more expensive, but it's probably a better option. Trying to get the best quality picture out of these older systems. Nintendo probably solved it easily by just simply re-releasing these games on whatever the new console is.
Right, and in no way are they interested in making a profit off of games that are like 30 years old.
Well, they are a business, so they're there to make money, so that makes total sense. But, like New Super Mario Bros. Deluxe U, even go back to the Wind Waker when it had the HD remake on the Wii U. Maybe that's just a more headache. I'm not going to say cost efficient, but a more like headache efficient way of getting the best quality video out of these older games. Wait for the virtual consoles when Nintendo puts out the new games each month and stuff like that. Maybe that's the way to go.
It's possible that's the way to go. And again, it's always going to be dependent on the person and the level of nostalgia factor you want as well. See, I like that, like those mini Nintendos, that like the mini NES or the NES Mini and the SNES Mini. Yeah, the classics, whatever the hell they are. I don't know anymore. But what I like about it is how you can go to that 4:3 look with the graininess, with the lines, because that's what it used to look like on your TV. And to be honest with you, like doing that, it's kind of it's endearing in a way because it is that nostalgia trip. It's like I'm literally sitting here and I'm like, oh look, I'm 8 years old again playing this game. Even though I clearly don't look 8.
None of us do, brother.
No, none of us do. So there's just a fun in doing that, But with Nintendo and now with potentially not even that. I mean, Xbox One does it. They're backwards compatible with their games
for the most part.
They've been adjusting things, but they're also releasing them on Xbox Live, PlayStation 4 on their network. Like you can play these old games now with Game Pass or with just purchasing them again.
Exactly.
So I mean everybody's doing it, and when they do it, some of the graphics get upgraded. So more power to them.
And of course, the ultimate would be the rumor, pure rumor, strong rumor, not strong, excuse me, just a pure rumor, that the PS5 may be completely backwards compatible all the way back to the PlayStation 1, which would solve, A, all the problems of hooking up an older system, and B, that just automatically means you can knock off 4 systems from your shelf right away.
Exactly. And, first off, I hope the rumor is true, but I also wonder if they're starting to look at this because of the retro console market that's out there now. So in other words, like you invested in the Kickstarter for Polymega, and then you have these analogs coming out with stuff, Retrobits coming out with stuff, so on and so forth. It's only a matter of time before they're all doing the CD-based games, right? Like Polymega's doing. It's just their way of cutting them off at the pass. In other words, it's like, hey, you know what? Don't spend money on this third-party system that can play our old games. We'll make our new system compatible with everything so you can play everything all the way back to the beginning. I mean, it's a smart move on their part if that's the plan. Now, if PlayStation 5 doesn't become backwards compatible all the way to the beginning, then they're potentially leaving money on the table for that reason.
You know what? I would say no, only because at this point, I feel like a lot of people, because the PS4 isn't backwards compatible, because the Xbox, even the Xbox One, is not fully 100% backwards compatible. Everyone has those old systems still, like you do, like I do. So I think it's not necessarily a miss, because I think the hardcore gamers are still out there with the old systems. I mean, I would love the PS5 to be backwards just for convenience sake, except I know for a fact that, like, the games that I downloaded, the digital copies, and I'm talking like the exclusive digital copies, they may not be transferable. I mean, who knows? We'll see. I mean, I just bought an external hard drive for the PS4. I got so many games on it. But, time will tell on that one. We've seen the success of backwards capability, but we've also seen some of how these companies handle it. Time will tell on that one. I don't think the PS5 is ready to be announced until... maybe this year's or 2020's E3 or something?
E3?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out. It depends on how aggressive they want to be, because, it sounds like Microsoft is ready to announce their next console as well. So
the Xbox 256. I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, I really do think they pick numbers out of thin air. Hey, it's the 360. No, it's the one. But it's the third console. Okay.
Headaches galore. And so let us know what you think about, how do you like to play your systems? In crisp, beautiful, 1080p, 4K, whatever, or the grainy 220 or whatever it is of a coax? Let us know what you think about HDMI upgrades as well. Of course, you know where we are on the Facebook. We'll announce it later. I'll announce it now. Facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast. And let us know what you feel about playing old games in new TVs.
All right, Larry, it is time for this week's Retro Records. It's been a while since we've had a retro record.
Yeah, no, that's... I wonder what it's about.
It's definitely... do you know?
Well,
do you know what I'm going to talk about?
Wait, are we doing Do You Know, or are we doing Retro Records?
No. I'm asking if you know what I'm going to talk about in terms of retro records. Okay, good. So this is going to be... We're going back. We're going back to... Actually, we're going way back, but also a little bit current. You know how we have that new Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch, right?
Yes. Yep.
That you are completely obsessed with. And there was a tournament for it last weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
There was.
So, but, everybody remembers the original Tetris, right? The groundbreaking original Tetris. Now, the original Tetris game, everybody thought that it had a kill screen at level 29. And that has been the Tetris Championship record up until about a month ago.
Okay.
So originally, it was believed that the kill screen was at level 29. There was no way to get past it until last month, when 16-year-old Joseph Saley, 16 years old, not only got bypassed level 29, he made it to level 33 before he finally lost.
Wow.
So, and 16 years old, you would think he's in school, like learning and stuff. No, he's playing Tetris. And not only that, the original version of Tetris that came out, 15, 16 years before he was even born?
Yeah, I was going to say, which version of Tetris is he using?
The original NES version.
Okay.
The very original. So anyway, so he got past the level 29 kill screen, made it to level 33. That is a brand new record. So we have a 16-year-old classic Tetris champion in Joseph Saley. So congratulations, Joseph Saley. You are this week's retro record.
All right, that was some big news. And speaking of news, what do we got this week on retro news?
We got quite a few things actually to talk about, and we're going to talk about the biggest one first because this kind of came out of left field, and as of right now, it is still just a rumor. So we're gonna take it at that until we hear otherwise. But supposedly, Google is rumored to be developing their own streaming console. Mm-hmm. And the biggest part of that rumor is that they are doing it in cahoots with Sega.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Sega. And with Sega teaming with the Google. That's what I was trying to say. Maybe not retro news. This is like our video game news. We'll call it news. I don't know.
Yeah,
news.
We'll just call it news. We have news.
This is pretty big because I know Google has been rumored to come out with their game system. Kind of like I see it in the vein of like Apple TV. Apple TV is a streaming box, but you can download games on it. They have like mobile games, but they have regular games on there as well. So I'm wondering if that's what Google's going to lead to. But now with this lead up, or this news with Sega, this is a whole different ballgame, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Because I feel like it makes sense because Microsoft just announced that, the rumor. I don't know if it's a rumor, if it's legitimately that the next version of the Xbox is going to be just a streaming console. There's going to be no discs.
Okay,
so
I'm for.
Yeah, well, I know you're pro digital download. I like discs, but it just makes sense that a company like Google would be developing something like this. And the reason why there's a level of believability to this story is that there are images of a controller out there, a Google-specific controller that looks kind of like a hybrid of the Xbox and PlayStation 4 controllers.
I feel like that's the go-to anyway. They all kind of have that same look to it. 2 analog sticks, a D-pad, 4 buttons, 2 shoulders on each side. So,
yeah, exactly. So they're going the same route as that. Which again makes complete sense because if they're gonna offer, streaming services, which could possibly include third-party licenses of pre-existing games, you want to have your controller to have the same button set up so you can play those games.
And that's my concern with Polymega. Because with Polymega, how it's going to have 5 CD-based systems, and one, it does not have 5 different ports to use the old school. It's one controller, which I'm fine with. That's fine. But yeah, they had to, and the way they designed it looks compatible for everything. But I like how you said that. Kind of like the controller needs to fit really for the games.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So the controller looks, pretty sleek. It's all white. Like I said, the button placement is all set up. So the other interesting things that I was reading online about this, which also makes it suspect actually not suspect, but it actually makes it sound like it may be real, is that Sega at the moment has no Sonic games planned for any of the current consoles. So nothing for Switch, Xbox One, or PlayStation 4.
Wow.
The only one that's been announced, and I'm talking platform-wise, the only one that's been announced is Team Sonic Racing, which is just a racing game. Mm-hmm. But there's no platform Sonic game being prepared for any of these consoles that we know of.
That's interesting.
And not only that, they only have a handful of other titles coming out. Outside of Team Sonic Racing, they have a PS4 exclusive called Judgment that's coming out, and then a few other games. But outside of that, they're not doing a whole lot. And as we know, after Sega went out of the console business with the Dreamcast, they've been focused solely on churning out games.
Well,
and the fact that has trickled now is suspect that maybe they're working on specific games for this new Google console.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Just putting all their focus. And if they're going to put out a new Sonic game, you might as well make it native to a new system that you're collaborating on.
Exactly, because if this is a partnership between Sega and Google, you're going to want to put all of your team on this, because this is going to be your big moneymaker moving forward instead of just making games for other consoles.
Maybe we'll get Sonic. Maybe we'll get Sonic 5.
Maybe we will. So, we'll find out.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about it also is that there was actually another small rumor coming out that Google is also working with third-party developer Ubisoft, and Ubisoft makes a lot of games.
Oh God, yeah.
So if you they just churn those.
And they work with everybody too.
Yeah, no, they work with absolutely everybody. So if you think about it this way, a partnership between Sega and Google, a third-party publisher like Ubisoft Online, and this already seems to have the makings of a potentially powerful console in the market. And then the rumor also is, and this will have happened by the time our episode drops on Tuesday, because Tuesday is March 19th, but March 18th was the 2019 Game Developers Conference.
Oh, the GDC, yes.
Yes. So and supposedly Google is making an announcement at the GDC this year, and it may be this console.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's really interesting. Yeah. There's a lot going on here.
We'll be paying attention to the GDC this year.
Very, very closely.
All right.
Absolutely. Cool. So I think that's like the biggest news. Now Larry, what do you think? Is there room in the world for another competitive console? We've got Nintendo, we've got Microsoft, and we've got Sony, which are the big three, right? Can we fit a fourth in there?
I'm seeing if I can physically fit a fourth.
Oh no, I can't. I can't fit anything. The inn is full.
Yes, but they have to play it either where this is like the reemergence of Sega as a home console, where they start putting their first-party games on there. Like, all of a sudden we see a new Crazy Taxi, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Or, and they've tried putting these systems out before, like Android systems, Steam boxes, stuff like that. Maybe focus on the ability of some of these handheld games, mobile games, to play on the television. I think that's an untapped market, in fact. And I'm not just talking about the ones where you literally just play and tap, but there are some good mobile strategy games that can translate onto the television without really changing any aspect of the game. So I think if they focus on that part, I think they have a shot. I'm not, I'm not expecting them to have Spider-Man on there or to have Red Dead on there or anything like that. But I say focus on Sega games, focus on mobile games for the television, and I think they have a spot in the television.
Yeah, I think that as much as I agree with that the other systems don't have that. If they're going to want to succeed, they've got to compete with games like that, like the ones that are on the other consoles. So I honestly think that they're going to really be focusing on, like, if we're going to see a Sonic game, we're going to see like a balls to the wall, like super,
like another Sonic Mania,
graphically beautiful Sonic game, like 3D Sonic game, kind of similar to Sonic Adventure that was on Dreamcast. Yes. Like that's what I would want to see on a Google console, because I want them to compete with Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo in that way. If you don't do that, I don't know if you're going to get the audience or the customers behind it. So you got to go for broke on that.
Sometimes I feel like the best way to compete is to do something completely different. But again, we'll see what happens. Yeah. I think both ways are viable. We're getting that with the is it the Intellivision that's coming out? The Intellivision where we're gonna have where things are going to be just installed already on it, and they're going to be like family friendly games only. So there are companies out there that are going to test that market. Google is not Intellivision; they're too big of a company to focus on something niche. So I think they're going to go out for blood. Basically, they're going to want to compete with the best of them. We shall see.
Yes, we shall, cool. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah,
too.
It should be good.
Yeah. So, few other things on in the retro news category that I wanted to bring up. The first one, and we did post this on our page, was the unreleased wrestling game.
Oh yeah,
that was discovered on the NES. It was created over 30 years ago.
WCW game. right?
It was a WCW game, but it wasn't called WCW at the time. It was called the UWC. Now, a lot of people believe that it was set up to be licensed by World Championship Wrestling, so it could be a WCW game, because there were 8 wrestlers in the game, and they were all WCW wrestlers. So you had Road Warrior Hawk and Animal, Bobby Eaton, Sting, Ric Flair, Barry Windham. And the gameplay was very similar to, the WWF 8-bit games on the Nintendo.
That's certainly how it was back then. I saw this. It's funny. Sometimes I see these clips and stuff. I'm like, where was this hiding? Like, is it just someone who just coded up a game to make it look like that? But if this is a legitimate situation, the fact that WCW put out a game eventually, but
they did.
The way this game looks, it would have definitely hit the market. I would have been interested though on how it would sell across the country, because back then, Northeast was more WWE, where the South was WCW and stuff. So that would have been interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely would have been interesting. And I think that this was I think this game was maybe developed after the WCW game that it was already released. Like, I think this would have been
before.
Okay. I don't know. I have a feeling it probably would have been a later version of that.
Okay.
And at that point, 16-bit systems were already coming out, so it's very conceivable that this one just fell by the wayside because of that reason.
True.
It's always, I always find it cool though when people find these unreleased games and stuff like that were initially created but never released. Okay. And speaking of unearthing something, we all know that 2 of the rarest video games on the NES, right, are Stadium Events.
Yep.
And the Nintendo World Championship cartridge, right?
Yep, gray and gold, but I think even more gray for some reason, yeah.
They're more gray than gold. Gold was if you got the gold one if you won your regional championship. So there were very few of those. And then the gray ones were for, I think, the finalists. Everybody got a copy of it.
Yep, like runner-ups, yeah.
Right, but they're extremely hard to find. Unless you should be happen to look in your attic, per se, which is where this specific gamer found an official Nintendo World Championship gray cartridge. Now, apparently, the gamer whose name is Tim, we don't know his full name.
All right. At Tim.
He was going through his attic and happened to find this cartridge, and then found out that his older brother played in the Nintendo World Championship in 1990 and was one of the finalists that got one of these cartridges.
That's cool.
Yeah. So congratulations, Tim. Don't tell your brother about it, because you can make a good $30,000 or $40,000 off of that card.
Honestly, holy cow! That's
and supposedly somebody's already offered him $23,000 for it.
Holy Lord! I'm going to win this contest. So that reminds me of, like, you hear the stories, like the great story about someone was demolishing their house. They were, taking down the walls, and, back in the early 50s and stuff for insulation, they just threw newspaper and stuff in the side of the walls. But someone found Action Comic 52, the first appearance of Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It was in the wall. Terrible condition, but even in its condition, it was still like a 4-point something, so it still would have fetched like 70-something thousand, or like $200-something thousand, actually, I think. Back then, he takes the comic book home. His wife's aunt is there. She picks up, what's this? And accidentally tears off the back cover, thus dropping it from like a 4-point something down to like a 1-point something, and in the process losing value of like 2/3 the value of the comic.
And that evening, Grandma disappeared.
Oh, man. So, hold on to that cartridge. At what point do you hold on versus, the right amount of money just knocked at my door?
It basically all depends on if you need the money or not. That's really what it comes down to. So, continuing with Nintendo for a moment, the Switch Online has dropped 2 new games.
Yes.
So if you have the if you play the online retro collection that's on there, you can now play Kid Icarus and Star Tropics.
Yeah, I'm gonna try Star. I never played Star Tropics. I'm gonna give that a shot.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it, and it was an interesting game. Kid Icarus I've always loved. I never beat that game because it's so damn hard.
I love that game. I never owned Kid Icarus, so I never really played Kid Icarus. When I think about it, so I got my hands on that. How about the two? Yeah, I think it's 2 special editions that dropped as well.
What are those?
Oh, okay. Now I got to remember. I don't remember what one of them was, but the other one though is Legend of Zelda 2 SP.
Oh yeah, I did see that on there.
So what they did was they maxed out your power, your magic, and your health. So that's all maxed out, but you don't have any of the items. So you still have to play through the game, but you're already starting off maxed out power-wise, so it makes it a little bit easier, but you still got to find all the dungeons and everything.
Okay.
That I'm going to try my hand, because I hated Zelda 2, but I'll do it with a little bit of an advantage like that. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, see, and I liked Zelda 2 for, the ingenuity that they showed for trying something different, which again, it's always bold to step back from the norm and try something else. And I honestly think, because of that, we were given great games like A Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time and so on and so forth. But yeah, so those are some of the new games on the Switch Online. If you are a member, check those out.
What's cool? On the Japanese version, they did the same ones, but there's a couple. They added like 1 or 2 Japanese exclusive games. I don't remember what this month's was, but last month's is a sumo wrestling game, which may be on the Famicom Classic now that I think about it.
Oh, cool.
I have no idea what the menu says. I don't know what they're talking about, but I've played it, and it's actually pretty fun.
Okay.
So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Very cool. Well, then, if you feel like playing some sumo wrestling, switch over to the Japanese Switch Online, which you can actually do on your U.S. version.
Kirby's Adventure. It got the other special edition.
Kirby's. Yes. Okay. And that's a fun game.
Oh, here we go. See, thank God for Wikipedia. The Japanese versions, Japanese got Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light, and Ye Are Kung Fu. Ooh. I've actually heard about that. It's a fighter. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give that a shot. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Definitely worth checking out then.
Cool.
All right. Stepping away from Nintendo.
Oh.
And we're going to move over to Sega. Now, Larry, I remember you had originally pre-ordered the Analog NT, if I'm not mistaken, or the ST.
Yes. The Super NES version, yeah.
The Super NES version. Now, Analog is a company that creates retro consoles.
Clones.
And right. So, and they had created one for Nintendo, one for Super Nintendo. Now they're creating the Mega SG, the Mega XG, yep, which is going to play Mega Drive games or Sega Genesis games. But they recently announced that the Mega SG will contain an unreleased Sega game, and it's a run and gun shooter called Hardcore.
Ooh, is it Contra Hardcore?
That's exactly what it looks like.
Ooh, interesting.
So yeah, so so if you purchase the system, which is going for $189.
Yeah, I mean it's worth it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah,
you get Hardcore for free. That now due to licensing issues, they had to change the name of the game. So on the Mega SG, it's going to be called Ultra Core, but still, it's the run and gun shooter Hardcore that was never released on the Genesis.
Oh, then it's not Contra Hardcore. That's interesting.
Maybe it's not. But if you take a look online, there are videos of the game. Just look at those. Look for. Yeah. So
Very cool.
Yeah. So if you want to get your hands on that, you got to get your hands on an Analog Mega SG. And then the last bit of news that I want to share with everybody is it looks like we are going to get an official Sega Mega Drive Mini from Sega.
Oh, okay. This has been rumored for a little while.
Like an NES Classic and like an SNES Classic. We're going to get the Sega Mega Drive Mini.
At Games, not even touching this.
Yeah, no, At Games is not touching this, to my understanding. This is straight from Sega. And the reason why we now know that this is happening, and this is 100% happening, is that Sega released on Twitter 3 polls allowing fans to vote which games they want on the Sega Mega Drive Mini.
Really?
Yeah. Now again, I think this is just in Japan. This isn't here at the moment.
Okay.
But they basically, each poll gives you 2 choices. And the choices are from the Sonic the Hedgehog series, the Puyo Puyo series, and the Shining Force series. So basically, you get to choose whether you prefer Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Puyo Puyo or Puyo Puyo 2, and Shining Force or Shining Force 2. They're basically going to put one of each on the Sega Mega Drive Mini.
Interesting.
And that's just the beginning of it. So we don't know. We don't know what else is going to be coming for this thing. We just know so far that 3 of these 6 games are going to wind up on the Sega Mega Drive Mini. So now that I saw this, I'm actually very excited to have an official Sega Mega Drive Mini. Not these Act Games garbage.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
An official one from the actual company that made these things.
No, that's cool. That's worth it.
Yeah, so that's going to be really cool. Looking forward to that. We'll see what happens. And that's all the news I have at the moment, Larry. Do you have any news?
Not gaming news, no. No, I think we'll start to wrap this one up then. The only news I have is for, for the podcast, is the family of podcasts that we have here. Remember, the Yin and the Yang podcast every Friday, the Better Half podcast every other Wednesday, Talking More Wrestling every Saturday, 6:05 p.m. Eastern, and of course, the Retro Gamers podcast every Tuesday. Personally speaking, I definitely want all of our fans to listen, because I'm going to be guesting on a couple other podcasts, more with the Talking More Wrestling part of it, because with WrestleMania coming up, I'll be on Monty and the Pharaoh this week, and I'll be on what's called Circling the Drain podcast, so check those out. We'll post them up. But otherwise, just keep listening to all of us. We're having a great time doing these podcasts, and we're just going to keep doing them for you.
Yeah, and not for anybody who likes the Virtual Boy, though. You're not allowed.
Aw. But I'm on all the shows.
Exactly.
Where can they find us here at the Retro Gamers Podcast?
Oh, they can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast. You can find us on our actual website, which is theretrogamers.com. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to regular podcasts, so iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Alexa, Spreaker, you name it, we're there. You can also watch our podcast now on YouTube. Just look for the Retro Gamers Podcast there. And you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com. Did I miss anything? Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast.
Just find us. We're not hard to be found.
No, we're not hard to be found. We're not. Yeah, we're not tiny people that are easy to overlook. So.
And with that, we'll wrap this one up. And as always, have a wonderful week in Los Angeles, where you live.
I shall. Yep. You do the same in Long Island.
I love it here. Yes, certainly will.
It's actually really nice. I am a fan of Long Island. I like it a lot, actually.
It's better than Staten Island. And with that, we will catch you right.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that about Staten Island. They just killed a mobster there.
I'm not. That is true, actually. Yeah, first hit in a long time. And we will.
Yeah, get ready. Get ready for war.
And go play the Godfather video game. And with that, we will catch you right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.